Just wanted to say hello. I am Silva Karageozian. I'm one of the programmers and been doing some of the Q&As for the short documentaries for the Arpa International Film Festival. So it's really a pleasure and an honor to talk to you after watching this incredible film. It was breathtaking. It inspired me. I did a lot of research after to learn more about this part of the world. So I'm sure that is part of what you hope it will inspire. Please just go ahead and introduce yourselves, each one of you, and where you're from, and introduce the film. So whoever would like to start, please, maybe ladies first, if Taylor would like to start. So,
sure.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Taylor Rees, and I'm a filmmaker based in Colorado. It's getting cold here now, which feels good. I'm a cold weather lover. I got an amazing opportunity to work with this whole team: Povel, Jeff, Rishi, and Vladimir, who are other scientists on the journey, as well as Renan Ozturk, who's my partner, and the DP of the film. He's unfortunately not able to make it at this time, but yeah, it was a big adventure that we got to take together, full of some unexpected twists and turns that led us to the final story. Really grateful for you, for Arpa, for hosting the film and sharing it with your community, and just excited to be here.
Absolutely.
There's the backstory.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Who would like to go next? Please just jump in.
Jeff, please.
Okay.
I'm Jeff Kerby. I'm an ecologist and a photographer, and I spend a lot of my time flying drones, both for taking pretty pictures and using them for scientific purposes. So this was a real treat to be able to combine the two of those on one trip. And I'm normally based in Denmark, so it's great to be able to join the rest of the crew, have a bit of a reunite here, and I'm looking forward to chatting about the KURILS. There's a lot of love there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Povel?
Yeah, so my name is Povel Torudd, and I'm currently based in Switzerland, but I've lived all over the world actually, and kind of jumped around a bit for the last few years. And my role in this context is in the producer role, but I'm sitting on the branded content side of a cybersecurity company, and that's kind of an interesting into this type of a story, I guess, in general. But in a similar way to Taylor, have thoroughly enjoyed this whole project and the whole process from the very beginning, and all the twists and turns that led to the final story. So it's really cool to
and what a story!
Be able to show this film to the world and to the Arpa audience is of course fantastic for us. So thank you so much for that.
This is almost moot, but I'll ask it anyway. If anyone would like to answer this question, what was your inspiration for the film? You all have different experiences or interests with making this movie. So would anyone like to answer that question?
Povel, you should give us the full origin story.
Please share.
Are we ready to share this, guys? Are we ready to
just open up? Yeah, let it out.
Are we ready to unleash this beast on the world? Well, I know you can. No, I am sorry. I just wanted to say one thing. I think it's so phenomenal that we have Taylor here today, and she really is kind of a really important part of this story. So the more you can talk, Taylor, please do. But no, I'm happy to give you my 2 cents worth. But so I guess from the very beginning, this started off in an almost random way. We kind of the stars aligned. We realized there was an opportunity to get somewhere. I bumped into Renan. We were working on a separate project, and come to talk more or less over a beer, and realized that he was very interested in the Kuril Islands. I happen to know that the CEO of the company that I work for is very passionate about the Kuril Island, and he was about to go there. And as we all learned through this process, it's very, very complicated, both logistically, geographically, you name it, it's extremely difficult to get to the Kuril Islands, to actually get access to this place in the world. So all of that kind of somehow aligned, and through Renan, I met Taylor, and Taylor, we started building this kind of ragtag crew of scientists. We know we wanted to do something meaningful. We know we wanted to do something with purpose. But the original idea was not really what you ended up seeing on the screen, or what you will end up seeing on the screen if you haven't seen it already. We kind of set it off more as a kind of a branded story, perhaps a little bit more, because that's kind of the typical things that I do in my career. But then it just came about, and we bumped into Vladimir and along the way, and we got all these amazing storytellers. We got these incredible science communicators. Jeff is one of them, so I don't want to talk too much about him, but I'll let him do that himself. But so just really phenomenal and almost serendipitous connection of people, and we all kind of united around this story in the end. So it was pretty special.
Yeah, I mean, the end result is phenomenal. What did you learn making this film? Very broad question, I know, but was there something in particular that stands out for any one of you, if anyone would like to answer that question?
I can jump in. I think we all learned a lot. I mean, it's the obvious answer would be what we learned about the Kuril Islands.
Sure.
The ecosystem there, the marine habitat, about Vladimir and his work. But, you know, without going into that, I think just the process of making this film was one of the more interesting, because our objective changed kind of at the last minute with this marine mammal biologist, Vladimir Burkhanov, who essentially stuck out his thumb asking to hitch a ride on our what was to be kind of like an adventure photography science communication project. And you know, what I learned is really about trust in story and trust with collaborators, more than any other project I've ever been a part of. Just, you know, every day kind of allowing what was emerging to help us shift our cameras and shift our perspectives and focus differently. And then the whole process of cutting this film, which, you know, there were many different things that happened on this journey with all of the different people, from the scientists to the photographers. Chris Burkhardt was also there. He's another adventure photographer. But to, you know, to figure out how we could really bring to light and the thread around Vladimir and his heart and what he kind of offers the world through his character and his charisma and his love of the place, and how that could be a message to inspire young generations to see that science could be cool, to just like also fall in love with this landscape in the way that Vladimir has for so long, and he helped us to all fall in love too. You know, it really took all of us together, just like supporting that initiative, and it was just a really special experience. So
I can only imagine. Universal themes that resonate. Are there any that any of you want to elaborate on? There's so many, I'm sure, but
Well, when you go to a place like the KURILS, there's so many layers to it, right? When you first arrive, you're just hit in the face by the beauty of the place. It looks like some fantasy painting, and you're like, oh, this can't be real. And so there's this grin on your face the whole time. But being able to go with Vladimir helped reveal some of the depth that you would miss just by showing up, taking a look, and leaving. And I think that is where you can kind of get at some of these more general themes or truths, where, you know, you can see beauty, but there's a lot of complexity in the world that it takes time and patience and dedication to kind of reveal another layer of that beauty, but also to understand the narratives that are not always beautiful in a place that might be stunning. And so this was a film that is kind of filtered through Vladimir's knowledge and view of the world, and we're so much the richer for it because of that. And I hope that, you know, people that see this get a flavor of that.
Oh, absolutely. What does your film say about the world we live in? anyone want to comment upon that?
I can chime in. I mean, I
Yeah.
think, again, there are a lot of different directions that we kind of could have taken this message, but with the scope of a short film, we honed in on a couple of things that Vladimir has in his heart and in his head at this point in time. Reflections on the reality of runaway climate change, leaving a lot of unknown impacts, and it's not just the known impacts; it's the big questions, which I think many people who work in the sciences really feel and know to be just so critical, that we are giving resources and time to kind of looking into how our planet is changing right now and why that's so important. So that definitely kind of speaks to his concern there. And I think, anyone who's deeply dedicated to a place at this point in time, whether that's people or a part of the planet, I think we're all just feeling the urgency of that care, and how hard it is to navigate that and stay dedicated and have the support. And that's why we included Vladimir's kind of final confession as a big part of the film, of him just like personally, being like, I've been doing this for 30 years. I don't know how much longer I can go. I'm trying to build a support system around this place, because it's so hard to work in these areas and to work as an ecologist in general. So, I think I think what speaks to the moment is just that love of place and that deep understanding of the concerns and the challenges that our planet is facing right now. And just, being able to hear that from Vladimir directly and let that resonate within all of us, and how we each also experience those feelings.
And to hear those words out of him, when I saw that, that part of the movie, that was just, no, you just, as a viewer, you're like, no, this can't be the end. You've done so much for so long. This has to continue. I need to see more. So for me, it was, it really hit me. What can people learn more about your film?
Jeff, Povel, I want to share some of the other things we've got going on, other places people can find stories.
Well, if you want to just peel back the onion layer a little bit, there is a behind the scenes piece that's up there that shows a lot of the process of how some of this imagery was gathered, and it goes into some of the science applications that we couldn't fit into the festival piece. And so that's a good start right there, and that can lead in many different directions if you're interested. Like, what are the story behind the beauty of this place, the story behind the wildlife, or just more about the people that helped make this possible, from Vladimir to the rest of the crew. There's a lot of threads to explore there.
Oh, absolutely.
The behind the scenes piece is called The Rise of the Drones.
It's called what? I'm sorry.
The Rise of the Drones. And it's also on Tomorrow Unlocked YouTube channel, where you can see
it is? Oh my gosh. Okay.
It's another 17 minutes, but we're actually working on a third piece, which is a bit different, and we haven't finalized it yet. It's some of it's still going to get shot, but we also realized, and this is perhaps something that's a bit closer to my reality in my profession. I'm not an adventure filmmaker. I'm that boring corporate guy. But we learned something really interesting through this process, and that is that for people like me, marketeers, communicators, PR folks, you can make these types of stories work for your brand as well. And the last piece that we're looking at now, we don't really have a release date for it. I'd say probably at the end maybe before the end of the year or towards the end of the year. We actually want to share some of the challenges that we went through in making this happen. Getting the people on board, getting a brand, in this case, the Kaspersky brand and the Tomorrow Unlocked kind of sub-brand of Kaspersky, to get behind a story of this that is quite far away from what we normally do. And what we're hoping that this final piece will do will kind of bring it home in a way, and going, if you're a brand out there, if you're representing a brand out there, you can do these types of things. You can add purpose to your stories. You can take a sliver of your marketing budget and put it into something that is genuinely good. And I think there's just a nice message in there. And what we learn, we really want to share, because we think that there's, between us collectively, we all had different kind of battles that we were going through. But I know, and I think it's just a little bit unfortunate, quite often the money sits on one person, and it's that boring corporate guy, right?
Right.
So I think it's really quite important to help others.
Sorry, boring corporate guys.
Well, it's me, so but yeah,
You've broken
I think,
the mold. Okay, let's make that clear
in a way, and
Truly,
I think what we
truly.
wanted to do is also show that you can tick your boxes.
Yeah.
You can get the we've had massive reach on this story. There's been millions and millions of engagement on social media. At this stage, we're very early days, but we got 20 odd festivals that have picked it up. We got 40,000 people have watched it online, and we haven't even spent any money on it. I mean, it's you can get all that boring data ticked off and still do something good. Where in this case, we're trying to raise some funds so we can actually give something back to help Vladimir achieve his goals. So I think that final piece will be a bit different. We're hoping, obviously, that we can bring more of these amazing, beautiful shots and cinematography, because we know that in reality, that's what everyone really wants to see. But we're hoping that subliminally we can kind of create a bit of a call to action around that as well.
And with you reaching, as you said, so many viewers via obviously everything having to be virtual and all these media outlets, I mean, it's incredible, the scope and capacity of what you'll be able to do. It's we're only just getting started too. That's probably the most exciting part. I see that as so powerful as a teaching tool, both for in a metaphorical sense as well as in a literal sense. I mean, these things don't just happen. It's truly inspiring. So you've already mentioned a little bit about your filmmaking background. Perhaps want to jump into that a little bit more. Your background as a filmmaker of films that perhaps have been inspiring to you, leading you to this place. Any thoughts? Anything come to your mind?
Sure. Is that a question for me? Anyone?
It would be wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, I got started making films, actually, environmental films, around the time I met Jeff Kerby, which was 17 years ago, when I was an undergraduate at Penn State studying climate change ecology, and really fascinated by how stories around ecosystems and climate change and people could kind of were coming to life. At that time, the idea of an environmental film was pretty novel to me at 19. Now there's millions created every year, and for really important reasons. And so I made my first environmental film in 2005, and then just ended up working in the climate and science fields through that, and then at Yale was doing a master's in environmental science and ran the Yale Environmental Film Festival for 2 years, where I got an opportunity, as you have too, I imagine, to as a programmer, to just screen and view such an array of environmental stories. And so you see, very data-driven ones, or very character-driven ones, or issue-driven ones, or ones that pivot off of like fear and concern versus hope and inspiration, or the balance in between. And so I've just loved that landscape that we have in our culture right now of environmental stories, and how those are changing. And so part of my master's thesis at Yale was to look at how impact was measured in the environmental film world. So there's all the different pathways, from films that are very geared towards policy shifts or towards consumer behavior shifts, films that are aimed to help us close down SeaWorld, or any of these things. And I think climate change films in particular are the most complicated, because the actions are not as simple. And so I've been inspired by a lot of different films, but when this opportunity came to work with Povel and this team, and Renan and everyone here, and to bring aboard Jeff and also Rees, who are two scientists I've known and worked with for a long time, you know, the impetus there was like, okay, well, let's create an environment of potential. I don't really know what's going to happen, but knowing how everyone's minds work in this space, knowing where we were going, this landscape was going to have, you know, have all these ingredients for something to come forth that was a message around, you know, caring for our planet or our landscape in transition. We just, you know, all went in with that leap of faith. And, you know, I was inspired to focus on a, you know, more of a character than a data kind of heavy film. But that's what's so great about working with Kaspersky and Tomorrow Unlocked is that they're really a technology company, and not just creators of technology, but also around stories around how technology influences our lives. So that's where these behind the scene pieces have kind of helped us also share what's, you know, how technology is being used in these regions for these different science projects, but also how we can support that. So, you know, we're still a part of this ever-changing landscape of being in a planet of great beauty, but also great peril. And we really need these stories. And just, I thank you guys again for hosting environmental stories in your platform.
Gosh, yeah. No, and how is Vladimir? How is he doing? I'm sure you all stay in touch. He's a great focal point for that, right? And it makes it personal, like you were saying. It's not just data driven. It's human, as well as about the nature. I mean, but it's there's this person who's dedicated the majority of his life, and
he hasn't stopped. I mean, we got back and we've started the KURIL Islands Research and Conservation Initiative, which is a 501c3 set up to help kind of collect support and funds in collaboration with Tomorrow Unlocked. And, you know, he dedicated a ton of time to just setting that up. And then the next thing we knew, we all get a phone call and it's like, okay, you guys, by the way, like I'll be in Moscow in a hotel room for 2 weeks quarantining because I'm heading back out. And he, you know, our initial goal was to help him raise money for a sailboat because he does everything from hitchhike to he has spent entire seasons in a Zodiac with the Zodiac just full of fuel, you know, eating nothing but crackers to get to these research stations to check on the sea lion and the seal populations. I mean, he's so dedicated. Thankfully, he and his son actually took out a loan to get a boat. So they have a boat and we are working our fundraising efforts to support some of the restoration work that needs to be done on the boat. I mean, there's no amount that could ever support everything he really needs. So every dollar is helpful. We have a GoFundMe set up for him. And Tulane, which is the research station that you see at the end of the film, and which is also featured in The Rise of the Drones, the BTS story, is in desperate need of some fixing up. So we're working with him on that. And then Rishi, who can't join us on this call, who is a PhD student at Scripps Institute of Oceanography, is working on setting up a longer term collaboration with Vladimir so that students can work hand in hand with him and he can have other kinds of university support. So it's a never ending story. We're really,
everything is interrelated and interconnected, and all this, like you said, fortuitousness and serendipity, but just the collaborative elements of it. Any upcoming films that you can tell us about? I mean, you've got, as you said, the drone one. So anything else in the works or that you're mulling about as a group now that you've created this one? Or
Povel, I haven't run this idea by you yet, but I was the final.
Make it happen.
And Jeff too, you know, we were talking about, we do want to just put one more piece of content out together as a group around this. And we were contemplating this, like, you know, how can we really offer something back to people rather than just like tell more about the behind the scenes we did. And so I was thinking last night, maybe we could put out a call to all of our social networks and ask people, like, if we were to do a how-to video, like, what do they want to know about, you know, how to get brands to take different paths of approach, or Jeff and his science, like how to use drones for conservation, or Renan or Chris, like how to use photography for telling stories, or for myself, you know, how to wrangle a bunch of cats on a ship for 2 weeks and keep everyone going in a general direction. So, you know,
Wow.
I thought maybe we could, maybe, you know, if anyone that sees this film or watches this Q&A, if you have any burning questions for our team that we might be able to fold into a final offering or video, maybe we could incorporate people's curiosities in some way.
Absolutely. Well, it's a great platform, right?
I think there is so much creative power in this group that we travel with, and the crew that came on board. Even if we're quite different and our backgrounds are very different, there's so much creative power. I'm sure we'll come up with something. One idea that I just cannot let go of is that when it comes to these types of projects, the purpose projects, I think it's relatively easy for brands to maybe let down their guard a little bit and collaborate. And I'm so convinced. We actually tried this a little bit with this project, but we didn't have anything to show for it. But I'm pretty sure that this could be a nice case study, maybe for other brands. And I'm again coming back to kind of the people in my world, the marketeers, the communicators. You know, if you can't find the budget, maybe you can find some other brands, and maybe there's some sort of a collective pool you can put in, and you can do projects together where you're actually showing these kind of great initiatives, and you don't have to focus so much about getting your exact brand message across. And I think there's a lot in that. So and I know I can't speak for all of us, but I'm pretty sure we'll stay in touch, and I'm pretty sure something will come up even beyond this
absolutely
in the future. I just can't say when, but I'd be quite surprised if it didn't actually.
We will absolutely hope you will all stay in touch. Yeah, with the film festival. I mean, this has been going on for 23 years, so we're in it for the long haul, and it's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. Is there anything anyone else would like to say before we sign off? I don't want to.
I had a bit of a flashback the other day, just a memory from the trip that I just haven't been able to shake. And I can't quite decide if it's a happy memory or a sad memory, but I remember so clearly we went to the first big haul out, Lavushki Island, it was called. And I think it was the first real close encounter for the whole group with these incredible sea mammals. And I've spent my entire life literally couch surfing, watching nature documentaries. David Attenborough is my adopted grandfather. I mean, there's just like so many others, right? And I remember there was one piece that stuck with me. And like I said, I can't shake it, because if you're coming from a corporate world, or if you've grown up in cities, which I have, I haven't seen this kind of nature before. You look at it and you go, this is pristine. This is the most amazing thing I have ever seen in my life. And this must be the real definition of pristine. And I remember so clearly asking Vladimir about that. He said, yes, it is. It looks fantastic. But it's probably only 20% of what it once was. And it was such a perspective shift for me, because I realized that what I think is pristine nature is only, well, I mean, in rough terms, a fifth of what it once was. And that was it's just one of those things that I think I'll carry with me, that moment, for quite some time, because it just makes you realize that the benchmarks that we're setting for ourselves now in what is pristine nature, it's obviously varies depending on who you are and where you come from and which exposure you've had to nature. But for someone like me, it was just a real moment that
just life shattering. For sure. And for the future generations, you know, where does that leave, you know, our children? It's just
2 generations from now, you come back to that place and it's been decimated. Is that pristine? You know what I mean? And it was a real. I really don't know how to think about that actually, even to this day. That very moment.
Again, and thank you for saying that, because I think that is one of the core things that comes out of this film, because without people like Vladimir and his colleagues doing what he's doing, we lose that context and we lose that perspective. And it's so important, because you can't get it back. You have to keep it now and nourish it, because if you don't, it goes away and it's a global loss. So yeah, we can pull you in with the beauty and the landscapes and the animals, but the take home is like, we need to support the knowledge makers and the knowledge curators to allow us to make decisions that will give us choices going ahead, because otherwise we sacrifice all of those choices.
That's right.
And yeah, that's what I take home from this experience.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to talk to you. It really was an honor and a privilege. I hope that we will see you in person one day soon. We're not sure when, but for now, virtual is the way. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate it. Really good to meet you all.
Thanks, Silva. Appreciate it.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah, likewise.
Take care.
Take care. We'll catch up soon.